exposing my sister's deceit and manipulation after her wedding. Growing up, my sister, Anne, 29, and her best friend Ruby, 30, were inseparable. To me, Ruby was like an extra big sister, someone who had always been part of the family. Now, Ruby's always had this out there sense of fashion. She would wear outfits that looked like they belonged on a runway, the kinds of things you'd think no one would actually wear in real life. But, even though they had a history of being best friends, things started changing when Anne got engaged. As soon as the engagement happened, Anne started acting strangely toward Ruby. When Anne asked me to be her maid of honor, I wasn't too surprised since they always swore they'd be each other's mo, but I'm her sister, so it was expected. But what really threw me off was when she made a group chat and I found out Ruby wasn't even in the bridal party. My mom and I tried talking to Anne, asking if something had happened between them, but she just said Ruby didn't care anyway. I knew Ruby was hurt, but she didn't want to stir the pot, so I decided not to press it. Through all the wedding prep, my mom kept asking Anne about Ruby, if she was invited, if she was consulted on things, but Anne refused to talk to her or even acknowledge her when it came to anything wedding related. The wedding day arrived on Saturday. It was beautiful, an outdoor socially distanced affair, but Anne was fuming the entire time because of Ruby's dress. Now, to be clear, Ruby's dress wasn't anything crazy by her standards. It was a simple dark red bodycon dress made of satiny material. There were plenty of other guests, including bridesmaids, wearing form-fitting dresses, so Ruby didn't stand out. I went with her to the fitting as maid of honor, and that was the dress she chose. Yet Anne couldn't let it go and kept going off about it, saying their friendship was over because of it. I told Anne that Ruby's been her friend for so long and she knew how Ruby dressed. She should have expected this, and if it bothered her so much, she should have made Ruby a bridesmaid instead of ignoring her completely. That's when Anne lost it. She sent Ruby some nasty texts after yelling at me, and then gave me the silent treatment all day yesterday. Now she's bad-mouthing me to our dad, who's siding with her. My mom told Anne she should apologize to Ruby for the hateful messages, but now Anne's not talking to her either. I honestly don't know what's going on anymore. Ruby insists that she and Anne never had a fight and says I should be supporting my real sister. Dad's backing her up, and now she's gotten the other bridesmaids on her side. Just to clear things up, Ruby's dress wasn't outlandish. It was a dark red bodycon dress with long sleeves, not some barely there spaghetti strap number. The bridesmaids wore similar dresses, and no one thought it was inappropriate. It wasn't a super traditional wedding, and no one was offended by the dresses. Ruby's dress didn't stand out in a bad way. She's gorgeous, but she's always been that way, and I didn't think it would be an issue for Anne. Anne and Ruby had been close for 25 years, so it felt like out of nowhere when Anne stopped talking to her. My mom and I weren't trying to control anything. We were just worried because Anne's always been so open, and we didn't understand why she suddenly refused to talk about Ruby. I love Anne deeply, but I think she's being unreasonable. I've been close to Ruby simply because Anne and Ruby were so close. As much as I love Anne, I think she's being unfair here. Ruby was always going to be at the wedding. I wasn't suggesting she should be part of everything, just that she be included in things like dress shopping. As for Dave, the groom, I don't think he has any feelings for Ruby. I don't even know if they've spent enough time together for something like that to happen. There's no affair, and Ruby has never tried to get with Anne's boyfriends. Update 1, I've been getting advice to not meddle, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. But this morning, Dave called me and asked if I knew what had happened between Anne and Ruby. Apparently, they had a huge fight when Dave tried to defend Ruby on the wedding night. He asked me to help him understand what went wrong so he could make it right. I said I was just as confused as he was, and he should talk to Anne directly. But here's the twist, Dave told me the reason Ruby wasn't in the bridal party was because he wanted her to be his best woman, and Anne wanted her as maid of honor. But Anne wouldn't budge, and they ended up dropping Ruby from both sides to be fair. Dave said he explained this to Ruby, and that's why they fought. Now I'm even more confused. If there was a fight over Ruby being maid of honor, why doesn't Ruby remember it? And why would Dave want Ruby as his best woman when he only met her after he started dating Anne? I can't make sense of any of this, but I've decided not to push it further. I'm going to let it go for now, but I still don't feel like I know the whole story. Update 2, things have gotten even more confusing. About 30 minutes ago, Dave called me in an angry tone, asking if any of his groomsmen had acted inappropriately toward me. I told him no, they were all polite, and I hadn't had any issues with them. Then he asked if Ruby knew she was supposed to be the best woman. I said I didn't know, since Ruby and Ann had been keeping everything so secret, and suggested he ask them directly. He laughed and hung up. Now Ruby's texting me asking if I knew about the best woman/maid of honor situation. A bridesmaid also texted me saying I shouldn't answer Dave's calls. Anne's on the phone with our dad, screaming, and it feels like no one knows what's really happening. It's all getting out of hand. I think the bridesmaids, or at least this one particular bridesmaid, are involved in all of this somehow. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out, but I think it's going to keep escalating. Update 3, it's been a crazy day full of shouting and tears. I'm still processing everything. Anne has been lying to everyone, and the whole situation is much more complicated than I thought. To help myself keep track, I made a timeline of events. I'll share that next to try and get a clearer picture of what happened. Dave had a rough past. He had been to jail and struggled with addiction for a long time. He met Ruby before he even knew Anne. After getting clean, Dave was trying to get back on his feet, and Ruby was there for him, helping him financially when he had nothing. He really saw her as one of his closest friends. A couple of years later, after getting stable at his job and feeling better about himself, Ruby introduced him to Anne. At first, Anne wasn't thrilled about dating Dave, mainly because of his past, but she ended up falling for him. She was still hesitant about who he used to be, though, so when they first started dating, she told everyone they met on a dating app, a story Dave agreed to at the time. As their relationship got more serious, Dave eventually told Anne that she needed to come clean about his past. Anne promised she would, but she never did. Instead, she wrote a fake letter to my family, pretending that we had accepted him and appreciated his honesty. She also told Ruby that our family had taken it badly, which made Ruby avoid bringing it up with us, thinking it was still a sensitive topic. When Dave proposed and started stressing about the wedding, he wanted Ruby to be there as his best woman, but Anne was stuck in her lie and didn't want to come clean to anyone. So, she started pretending that Ruby wasn't a good fit as maid of honor and convinced Dave to drop Ruby from both wedding parties. Anne said she had explained it to Ruby, but Ruby had issues with it, keeping Dave happy. The truth was, Anne didn't tell Ruby anything, and Ruby had no idea what was going on, which is why she was confused about the whole situation. And also told Dave and everyone else in his support group that they shouldn't mention Dave's addiction during the wedding or in speeches because it might make certain family members uncomfortable. She painted Ruby as a troublemaker to the bridesmaids, claiming she would make a scene, try to sleep with the groomsmen, and get too drunk. She also made them believe Ruby was only invited because I idolized her. When the wedding day came, Anne's meltdown over Ruby's dress began. Ruby wore a dark red bodycon dress that wasn't out of place among the guests, many of whom were wearing similar dresses. Anne blew it out of proportion, convincing the bridesmaids that Ruby's dress was an intentional insult. My dad gave in, as expected, because Anne was the bride. My mom and I stayed firm, but Anne used this as an excuse to try to cut Ruby out of everyone's lives. She tried the same thing with Dave's groomsmen, telling him that they had said inappropriate things about the bridesmaids. The plan was to distance anyone who knew the truth about Dave from the rest of the family. Dave wasn't buying it. He started asking questions about Ruby's dress and the groomsmen's behavior, and Anne panicked. She accused him of not loving her and choosing his friends over her, which led to a massive argument. Dave began calling people, trying to figure out what really happened. A couple of the bridesmaids admitted Anne's version wasn't entirely true, and Dave eventually called me and told him I was just like him, caring more about Ruby than her. I was confused, and the timeline of events didn't add up, but I answered his questions anyway. He then confronted Anne, and she broke down, confessing everything. She was caught in her lies. Dave was furious. He sent a message to everyone, revealing his past, and then told Anne he couldn't stay with her. She came to us, clearly shaken, and had to explain herself again. I never imagined my sister could be this deceptive and manipulative. I don't hate her, but I'm hurt by what she did. She's miserable and feels guilty because she's afraid things won't work out with Dave. My mom won't even look at her, and she's furious. I understand why my mom feels this way. My dad is also hurt and shocked. He texted Ruby to apologize, and Ruby responded that she couldn't talk right now, but maybe in the morning after they'd had time to calm down. Dave is the most hurt of all. He thought the letter Anne had written to him was his most cherished possession, and finding out it was fake crushed him. He's asked for space from our family, and I get why. I don't know when he'll be ready to talk to Anne again or if he even wants to stay married to her after all of this. Update 1, the past 2 weeks have been incredibly tense. Anne and my mom have been at odds, fighting and crying over everything. We've learned that this wasn't a one-time thing. Anne has always been obsessed with her image, and she confessed to a lot of manipulative behavior from her past, even in school and at work. Some of it was scary. I feel like I don't even know her anymore, and I'm not sure we'll ever be able to fix the tension between us. My dad, after hearing some of what Anne confessed, decided she needed to see a therapist. And didn't take that well, and it led to a big fight between them. I've never seen my dad so angry. And eventually agreed to go. The therapist will help and process everything, but I'm not sure it's enough to fix what's broken. I suggested family therapy, and my parents are looking into it. Hopefully, it will help us understand each other better and learn how to move forward. Anne has been talking to Ruby a lot, and from what I hear, Ruby is still really upset. I've been taking the advice to stay out of their relationship, so I'm leaving them to handle it on their own. Ruby and I still talk, but we don't discuss Anne. Dave sent me a message a couple of days ago, and it looks like this whole mess might finally come to a head. He doesn't want to stay in a marriage with Anne anymore. He feels deeply hurt and deceived by her, and now that he knows this is a pattern, he's not sure he wants to be with her at all. I know he's seeking therapy and has support from friends, so he's not alone in all of this, but I think he deserves some distance from my family. It's hard for me, but I understand his decision. Anne's taking the news badly. She had a panic attack when she first heard it, and she's angry with Ruby for telling him. She's terrified of being divorced, but she's just as upset that Dave is leaving her. I hope the therapist helps her, but I can't say I feel the same about her right now. I feel guilty for not noticing sooner that something was wrong. She's not well, and I'm worried about her.